Alrighty, well, welcome John. You're actually kind of the first episode for this pod, and I'm not actually sure what it's called yet. I was thinking
Yeah,
like
whatever it is.
the Knights of the Immaculate or something like
Love
St.
it.
Maximilian Kolbe
Yeah,
oriented. But yeah, I guess we'll jump right into it. I found you on LinkedIn of all places, which is quite funny because people like, isn't that what they used like 20 years ago, like what the grandpas use or whatever?
Yeah,
But,
that's right.
it's kind of kicking off again, and I saw John's videos and he was like talking about spiritual direction or something. I'm like, what's this guy doing here? So I was like, oh, I've got to reach out to him and like see what he's doing. And but yeah, I guess just tell us a bit about yourself, and I guess eventually you can get to your business. But I'm sure there was a lot that sort of came before that.
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, yeah, thank you so much for having me in this space. It's really awesome to connect together, not just as Catholic influencers, but just Catholic men.
Yeah.
To be able to talk and chat like this.
Yeah.
Like for me, I was basically born and raised Catholic in a really classic like migrant Vietnamese kind of household. Mom and dad would just drag us to mass, and it was more kind of out of like a habit, or obligation and whatnot.
Mm.
But throughout the years, as we continued to go to mass, my brothers and I, like many kind of kids in Australia, especially, switch off. If we're not really journeyed or taught properly about the faith.
Yeah.
And we always saw it as like a mum and dad thing, not kind of our thing. So
for sure.
I remember, kind of near the high school age, we began to really drop off from going to mass. And from there, the re-sparking of my faith in particular came from joining a Catholic community, which really taught me that.
Is this already here in Aussie?
Yeah, in Aussie, and literally it was like, wow, I can actually have a relationship with God. Like, wow, like having like God actually like loves me and wants to know me for who I am.
Yeah.
And that really sparked kind of my journey into what I'm doing now, and from there, really falling in love with God and serving God through youth ministry. And jumping around the place doing youth ministry in parishes, at ACU, to eventually the Archdiocese in Sydney.
Right.
And from there, kind of sparking my own little business, which I can talk about more.
Yeah. Well, so how old are you now, John?
So I'm 30.
30. Okay. Yeah.
Do I look 30?
No,
don't answer.
Yeah. It's funny. We've got Father Tien back in New Zealand, a Vietnamese priest as well, the absolute legend of a guy. Similar, they hear some good stories from him. But so like, I guess how long have you been in ministry?
Oh, that's a good question. Not including my professional years, it would be since 2012. So kind of a decade plus 2 years. But in terms of professional ministry, like actually working for the church.
Yeah.
As a career, it would have been straight out of university. So 2015, so almost 10 years.
Yeah, wow. So what did you study?
I studied, which is completely different. I studied a Bachelor's of Marketing and Media at Macquarie University. Yeah. So I actually wanted to get into advertising, like kind of the Mad Men kind of style. Yeah. And really loved and fascinated with videography and creativity. And I thought, that's the thing I want to do. And it was only until my last year where we were called to do an internship with whatever kind of creative agency. And I chose to do it at this non-for-profit Christian organization called Act for Peace. And from there, it really blew my mind that I could offer to God my skill, my talents, while serving Him and improving my faith. Yeah, and so working in that organization was amazing because it just opened my eyes to the possibilities of serving God in a professional sense.
Yeah, I guess you'll talk about this idea more, but it's like, I guess we're stuck with this weird mindset that it's like, I've got my career and that's just my career, there's nothing else. Then I've got the faith, and it's like, why are we thinking like that?
Yeah,
like,
why is it separate,
like,
right?
Like with marketing and advertising, like, man, I instantly think the church could make so much use of that. Like,
100%. Yeah.
Like, because we're so far behind on that kind of stuff.
Man, I speak about that a lot to my colleagues and whatnot, and it's always the running line or realization of like our Protestant brothers and sisters, they do it well. You know, like they are really good at the kind of social media marketing side, like the amount of videos and content I see from them. I just think to myself, man, like the Catholic Church is like 20 times bigger. We have like we have such a large pool of talents and gifts. Yet we're not tapping into that. And you know, like we're still thinking like the bulletin is enough. Like the bulletin at church is enough.
100%, which no one reads.
Which no one reads. Or only reads for like what I don't know.
They're distracted.
When they're distracted, when doing like Father's Homily or something.
Yeah. No, 100%, man. Yeah. So, I guess what that brings you to, because you're basically a Catholic coach, from what I understand.
Yes.
And I guess tell us about how that started, or like what was your reasoning to kind of say, oh, well, people are actually kind of needing some guidance. Like, what can I give them?
So, it goes back just a year. Last year, I really felt prompted. I was just at Mass, praying after Mass, and I just felt a prompting. I was just asking God, like, God, what do you want from me? Like, I spent all these years working in ministry. I love you so much. I have all these talents and gifts. Like, how can I best serve you? And very morbid thinking, but also asking myself, if I was to die, like on my tombstone, what do I want to be known for? Like, what is the legacy that I want to leave behind? And in that conversation, I felt God really pulling me towards, like, John, I want you to serve my people very intimately. I want you to journey with them. And I was like, okay, that sounds cool. I'm kind of doing that in youth ministry. Like, what does that mean? And from there, really had this kind of classic, you know, our phones are always listening to us or whatever. And so this ad of life coaching just popped up on my Facebook. And I was like, maybe that's something I should look into. Like, maybe that's something. And so anyway, long story short, went into it, studied under the International Coaching Institute, which is kind of the #1 coaching school in Australia. And from there, just really fell in love with recognizing and understanding the power of how human behavior and psychology can help someone live their faith even deeper. And my original kind of coaching business was helping high performers, because I'm one myself. Like, I love the grind and the hustle and the grit, and really building something up from the ground up. It was only recently my kind of time in Quito. I went to the International Eucharistic Congress just in September with the Archbishop and Bishop and you know, the whole gang, where we kind of received the announcement that the IEC is going to happen in Sydney in 2028. Little shameless plug there. But from there, that moment and kind of being amongst the people in Ecuador sparked a deeper yearning for me, and a deeper conversation with God, that perhaps my coaching should specifically help Catholics, not just high performers. And so that's where I recently took that pivot towards helping Catholic young professionals. And gee, you know, I'm sure you would know, when you make a decision and you make that leap and you're so unsure, but then once you do it, God just reaffirms in you through little signs and little conversations that it was the right move, because it's his move, right? At the end of the day. And so once I made that pivot, all these conversations started happening, all these people kind of affirming that move for me. You know, a lot of kind of young professionals coming up to me and saying, hey, John, like, this is awesome, let's talk. I'm feeling this way, I'm feeling that. And so that's where the business kind of came out from. And that's why you see me posting on LinkedIn, not being afraid, you know, of trying to marry, you know, Catholic teaching in the business world. It's very needed, you know, because it's not a space that you would often see someone talking about their faith.
Yeah.
But the Catholic faith shouldn't just be reserved, right?
No, 100%. It was the same for us starting Fit for the Kingdom back in the day. It's like I kind of seen some figures here and there put the connection together, like Father Capo, guys like that. But like, it just wasn't common, and like obviously it still isn't. But like contributing to that for me is really important. And I guess before we jump ahead, like that connection, I think the gym and the faith is a really easy one to kind of talk about. But like with business and Catholicism, like, I guess could you talk about the fact, you kind of mentioned it at the start, of the church needing young professionals, of the church needing not just holy men, obviously we're all called to be holy men, but actually like successful, like strong, like confident, capable men that are able to build the church up. Yeah. And not just like these guys who are just chasing money or like seeking to like build worldly riches, but that actually no, we can hold and affirm both of these things. They're both good. They just all need to be pointing towards God.
Yeah, 100%. Like I would say it is so relevant and interdependent of each other. Like they're kind of, these two things, our faith and our working life, are so essential, because if you think about it, we are at work more than any other thing, you know, like, and sadly enough, right? Like that's just how the world is. We're given, like money is the means for all these kind of things that we need to survive, and that's why people need to work. And so it makes sense that your work has to be an expression of your faith, of your, because it's so interconnected with your identity and who you are. And so these two things, like the need for, like you were saying, like great Catholic men, or also Catholic entrepreneurs, like people that are willing to be excellent, not just in their career, but excellent in their faith. Marrying those two together is so important, because, I mean, when we think about the past and how the world was built, a lot of it was because of, you know, great Catholic people. You know, like Catholic people that weren't afraid to express themselves or express their faith through the things that they do, and through the profession that they said yes to. I would say, you know, this isn't just reserved to like the idea of business and faith shouldn't just be reserved to men. You know, like it's like there are great Catholic female entrepreneurs. Like I journey with some myself, and a lot of them, or literally all of them, are really recognizing the role that they have, right? The unique role they have in the church, where, you know, some aren't, you know, just, I guess, business owners, but they're juggling like their business with their, you know, parenthood, like being a mother. And so, I would say, oh man, I hope I'm answering the question. But both of those things definitely marry up together. I think what comes to my mind more so, and the reason why I focus on Catholic young professionals more than anything, is there's a great disconnect or disengagement with professionals and their work. And I had a recent conversation with the executive director, Peter, who looks after young professionals in America. He has this huge network, kind of 42 chapters, I think looking after thousands of Catholic young professionals. And I asked him, like, Peter, what are the two main issues that young professionals are suffering from? And he said, one, loneliness. There's a great kind of epidemic of loneliness and isolation. Second one is disengagement. They just don't feel connected with their work. They feel either their company doesn't care about them, or the work that they contribute to the company doesn't matter. And so this is where kind of the faith comes in, you know, like we recognize that our work is beyond the money, beyond the KPIs. It's really serving God in His kingdom.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because I don't know, you hear it and kind of like it's that common trope of the movie, like the 9 to 5, like just got to clock my 8 hours and then
Yes.
get out of there as quick as possible. It's like, man, that's such a bad mindset. Like,
Yes.
how can you think, oh, I've got to spend 5 or 6 days a week doing this thing that I hate, which I think is meaningless. It's like, what?
Yeah.
No, it can't be that way. Like,
yeah.
I think, like, I don't know, like, I think that's part of the thing of sectoring off the faith. It's like, okay, I've got my vocation, which is marriage or the priesthood, like, focused on the faith, and then, all right, now I've just got to find something to do to earn money. Like, it's just disintegrated.
Yeah. It's a huge disconnect, you know, like, like for kind of how the world has been made, it's just a continual ripping of the faith away from everyday life, and it doesn't make sense, you know. Like God loves us so profoundly, and for us being made in the image and likeness of God, we recognize that we are called to work and to serve and to contribute. So it's in our very fabric of our identity that work and faith are interconnected, right? And so it's just fascinating to see people oh my gosh, can I even pronounce this? Compartmentalize, if that's a word.
Compartmentalize.
That's it, yeah. For them to segregate those things.
Yeah.
In fact, you can't really have one without the other, you know, because faith, I mean, faith requires work. You know? Like, it requires us to do, not just to just think and just to, you know, like, it requires us to actually have action.
Yeah, very active. That's true. I'm just gonna check out if things recording before we keep going. Yeah, we're good. Nice. Yo, I guess my next question was like, because I'm sure you've, I guess, had resistance to this message, or like, let's say I'm like, oh no, John, like I've got this job, I just need to provide for my family, like I can't be switching careers or whatever, like I've just got to earn money for the family, like what you're like, no, I can't listen to you, like I've just got to do this and that's it, like I can't do anything else. What would you say to them?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say the classic Catholic answer, which is it's not a it's not a or, right? It's a
both and.
Yeah. Like I'll repeat that again because I need to really cement that in my mind. Yeah, it's literally not an or, it's a both and.
Yeah.
Like, who is it to say that we can't work, you know, make money and serve God at the same time?
Yeah.
And that's where I really felt the call to be that coach that bridges the gap.
Yeah.
For the young professionals out there,
is
to recognize that like making money is okay. Like that's totally fine. You know, like generate the wealth. But remember, what's that for at the end of the day?
Yeah.
You know, like if our why is specifically just to climb the career ladder and to make money, then our happiness and our joy and our life will always be directed by that, and it will always be for that. But if it's a means, if it's something that helps us support the greater vision, right, which is to know, love, and serve God, that's when our whole life transforms. And so, I mean, what I would say to that person is, it's a both and. You know, like you can have both of those things. More so, even thinking about the reality of, sure, your life might feel good right now. Like it might be good right now being able to do the job you like, make the money that you want. But can it be greater with God included? Right? Can it be greater? Going to work and knowing that your actions is an expression of the invisibleness of God to the world. Right? Your work is literally that visible sign.
That stewardship.
Of that stewardship, right? And it's really helping, I guess, young professionals remember that and realize that for their work. That's when they begin to see that, okay, I can have the both and. It's not just either or, right? Like it's not a choice of one or the other.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I guess when I like, because you mentioned like, okay, like I guess changing that mindset with how you approach the work. But like, even if we keep it at the vision of like just money, it's like, as you said before, like money's how the world goes round nowadays. Like if us Catholics are not successful, like, or if we're not making money, or if we're not like proficient, like that's also at a disservice of the church. Like even let's say, all right, cool, my company could be better, we're going to work on stuff, but also that, okay, like the fruits that come from this labor, like I can make that work for the good. Like it doesn't just have to be this like real negative utilitarian thing. It's like, okay, sweet, what am I going to do with the extra time that I have outside of work? What am I going to do with that money? And it's like, you can do so much. Like you just have to realize it.
Yeah, 100%. Like I think often at times we like there's a general assumption that if I work hard, like then I'm not serving God, or I'm not loving God as much. And in actual fact, this idea of wealth, or the term financial freedom, actually puts us in a position of serving God even greater. I would hope that every Catholic out there would strive for financial freedom, so that it frees them to do what they're called to do, whether it's to love their family with even more time, or to serve their parish with even more time. Like I see it not as, oh yeah, cool, I have all this wealth, I can go on like 1 billion holidays, and buy the fanciest cars or whatever. But it's more, you said it right, like what good can I do? Like what good can I do with the time that I've won back? With the money like I've curated, like how much more can I give? And I think that's an important thing to have as we continue to work and build our careers. Is what good can I do at the end of all this? But then as well, what good can I do during this? Right? Because just because you don't have that ultimate financial goal, freedom, etc., it doesn't mean you can't do good now. A lot of people can do good.
Oh, absolutely, Like my dad loves to say, like, did God rest on the 6th day or the 7th day? Like often a lot of people write off a Saturday. It's like, hold on, man, you got 24 hours there. Like, what are you doing with that?
That's
huge. That's good. I guess I was wondering as well, like, in terms of the people that you work with or the people that come to you, like, what do you find that is they're struggling with? Like, I guess you mentioned that guy in the US who said it was loneliness and disengagement. What have you found?
Yeah, definitely. Firstly, as we talked before, a great disconnection with work and purpose. Like there's a disconnection there, in the sense that like a lot of the people I'm journeying with are just stuck in the grind. Like they feel like they're in an endless loop. Wake up, brush your teeth, eat breakfast, go to work, come home, rinse and repeat. And it's kind of helping them discover that it's not necessarily their life has no purpose right now, but more so they're choosing their purpose. Like it's a choice that their purpose right now is based off those actions. It's kind of like helping them reframe or relook at their life as, each action that you do actually serves a purpose, has a greater purpose. Just because you're not, climbing Mount Everest or, I don't know, what other, completing like an Ironman doesn't mean you don't have purpose. Your purpose is very unique to what you're doing right now. It's more understanding, realizing that maybe, where you are right now is the purpose. And so I said that would be the first thing. Second thing I would say is busyness in prayer. That's a huge one. Like young professionals right now are just so busy. Like they feel like they don't have time for God or time for prayer. Some might feel like they don't even have time to go to mass, right? On a Sunday. It's a huge struggle there because they're so set on survival. They're so set on, having their job, but some even have you know, like a part-time job or a casual job or a little side hustle to make ends meet. So it's this kind of survivalistic mindset that has made them so busy. You know, I need to constantly do things in order to make money, and therefore God is the lesser priority. So I would say busyness as well is a huge kind of factor, or a huge problem, challenge that young professionals are facing. I would say those two.
Man, that's tough.
Oh, super tough. You know, like it's especially when you're so in it that it's hard to see out of it. And so that's why you kind of sometimes need a really good friend or a coach to like help you snap out of that reality and to see it for what it is. To see like there's this awesome kind of coaching or mindset concept that is taught in my school, and I love telling this as a start of every coaching kind of journey that I have with a new client, is the concept of map and territory. Have you heard of this concept before? No. So it's very simple. You want to think of it as think about, like, if I was to say to you, I want you to go to Darwin, right? And you have a choice. You either have a old map made 100 years ago, a parchment map on paper, or Google Maps. Which one are you going to trust more?
Probably Google Maps.
Google Maps, right? Why would you
It's got way more stuff on it.
Way more stuff, right? It's constantly updated. It's going to tell you all these directions, blah, blah, blah. And so you want to think of it, that map and the territory is how we see our world right now. And it's when we get that map, so our map is our perception and the territory is what is actually happening. When we can marry these things together as close as possible, that's when we start living a resourceful and fruitful and fulfilling life. Because right now, if you think about, say, a busy young professional, their map of the world, of their territory, of their life right now, their map is telling them, you've got no time. There's no such thing. Like, it's a luxury to pray. God should always be last. You know, like all these kind of things. Like this parchment, old paper map is telling them to go into one direction, where what they need to do is kind of update their brain to get it to a point of Google Maps, where it's constantly updating, constantly shifting and changing, so that they can navigate the territory well, right? And so I love kind of giving that to a new client, because it then begins to help them get out of the mess, right? When they are able to kind of distance themselves from that reality, and recognize that how they see the world is their reality, that's when life starts to change, and they begin to realize, oh, maybe I'm not so busy. Maybe I just think I am, which is a huge difference.
100%. It's all a mindset. Dr. Rick Matara, like, God is in the present moment. Like, you don't even know if you're going to make it to tonight. Like, you got to find God now. You don't know how much longer you've got. And like, he's not in the past either. Like, and what was the other thing? I think Saint Teresa was obviously like the little way. Like, he said, like, your God is found in the dishes. Like, and it comes back that if you can't find God in the present moment, like, you're really going to struggle to find him elsewhere. Because like, sometimes you are so busy, and like, if you're not able to like just keep your head grounded and like focus on God, or stuff's gonna overwhelm you. Like, there's no way around it.
100%. And I love Saint Teresa's little way. Like, it speaks very beautifully of how we don't need a grand plan, right? Like or live out a grand plan. I mean, she's a saint. That is very grand, right? But more so, it's in her little way. Finding God in the dishes, or mowing the lawn. When we apply that to work, can we find God in the calculator buttons that we press, in the coffee chats that we have, you know, in the water cooler conversations or whatever. You know, like, God can be found everywhere. And it's when we begin to realize that, I spend so much time at work, if I'm not a Catholic at work, then am I Catholic at all? You know, I don't know, right? That's a huge question to ask. But you can. Yeah. You know, you don't have to go on a crate and preach. You know, absolutely. Preach in the lobby of your workplace, right?
On the microphone.
On the microphone.
Yeah. As well, like, if you can't find God in the little moments, how do you expect to like surf Him in the big moments? Yes. Like, surely you start with that before you're called to those other great things.
100%. Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, I guess one final topic, like we were talking before, and you said a line which I like, and like it might sound a bit harsh, but it's like there's no excuse for Catholics not to use social media. I guess like let's unpack that, because I love reading about Saint Maximilian Kolbe and how he had the newspaper or the newsletter, I forgot what it was called, but just starting to print it, and he didn't have money for a printing press, and like a lady gave him like $3,000 like in the mail, like as a miracle, and like he just made it work, and I don't know how many souls like he brought to Christ, but he used that technology and that means that was available, and he just worked at it and worked at it, like. But again, as we were talking at the beginning, like we've kind of stepped out of that conversation. Like, I guess, can you illustrate the importance of like, okay, we've talked about the whole pod. We're living the faith out all during the day in our work, professional lives, everything. How do we bring that into like the social media sphere?
Oh, that's a great question.
It's a big question.
I would say there's so much inspiration that we can get from really successful influencers that we see now, that I feel like if we can put a Catholic lens on it, it will make such a huge difference. And it doesn't need to be a Mr. Beast style, right, of social media or content creation, but something as simple as vlogs and blogs of kind of capturing what it's like to be a Catholic, like a joyful Catholic, in such a depressing world today. I feel like that has huge ramifications, because I don't know about you, but when you talk to a non-Catholic, they think we're weird, you know, like they think we're weird, or they think sometimes the Catholic Church is like a cult, right? And so if we can show the extraordinariness of being a Catholic in an ordinary setting, I feel like that has a profound effect.
Man, that's such a huge point, because it's like, I guess even with like the gym and business, like if a secular guy looks at me, he's like, oh, John's like succeeding, like he's just started his own business, like I can see he's fit, like I want to go work out with him, I want to spend time with this guy, and then it's like, wow, I'm also Catholic. They're like, sweet, like cool, like I can see you're a cool guy, like it's not a big deal, like actually tell me more about it.
I was gonna add, like, that's 100% true. Like my conversations with Peter, the executive director, he said he's seen such a huge wave of reconversions of like these young professionals that were kind of completely switched off with the faith, and once they just saw others, like other young professionals living out their faith, that's when they began to kind of reconvert and come back. And I feel like that's what social media does. Like, social media allows kind of the Catholics that are out there that are a bit switched off to switch on again, and to see that being Catholic is pretty cool. It's pretty awesome. You know, it's a life worth living.
100%. Yeah, because I know, like, obviously guys from work will follow me on social media and like obviously get along well at work, but then I might post like a spiritual reflection in the morning, or like a photo of mass, and they'll be like, I don't know if they do see it, I know they see it, but it's like it's solely in their head. I guess they're like, oh cool, okay, well this is happening, people are still doing that, so they, I guess, break down those barriers of Catholicism being weird, or like they just focus on the spiritual life, but like look at them, their normal professional lives are really bad, or they struggle with their family, they're out of shape, like well no, we need to take back that territory, like 100%. Catholicism is like the pride of place, like
it really gives energy to everything, you know. Like when I think about like when I help a young Catholic professional really put God back into their life, it's really helping them think about like what are they doing for themselves emotionally, physically, and spiritually.
Yeah.
And usually they feel life isn't going well when one of those things isn't at its best. And it's because one of those things isn't at its best, the rest kind of suffer.
Yeah.
Right? And so like you might have an incredible like spiritual life and your example emotional mental life is really good, but if your physical life isn't there, eventually it's kind of like that seed of all those cracks start to fester into the other parts. And so if you're able to do well in all those three, that's when life starts becoming fruitful.
Yeah.
And I feel like, in terms of social media, if we can have Catholic influencers that are, or just Catholic people out there spreading the message that Catholicism is important for your workouts as much as your reading, as much as your business.
Yeah.
Not just the realm of just prayer. Like,
yeah.
I mean, we can't deny it. There are Catholic influencers out there, but a lot of the content that I see, at least, is very and it's good to be very theological and philosophical focused, right?
Yeah.
There's not enough, not many out there that are applications to life. 100%. Like, how do you actually apply this to my life?
Yeah.
And that's why I love Catholic coaching, because it's really helping Catholics out there understand that faith is in action, right? Like, it's really, you have to apply those things. You just can't stay in the church and pray 24/7 and all of a sudden life becomes better.
Yeah, I mean, it's all over the Gospels, like, go forth the masses in to glorify God with your life. Like, you shall not, you don't light the candle to hide it under like a veil, or you should be the salt of the earth. Like, those are all physical, active things that like God is calling us to. Like, we can't ignore that. But it's all over the Bible, man. It's crazy when you read it. It's like, you're not saved like by faith alone. Like, you've got to be righteous. Like, all of these things are just calling us to that real zealous life.
Yeah, to do, right? Yeah.
Well, good, man. It was a pleasure having you.
Oh, likewise, man. Thank you so much for having me. And it was awesome just to chat. Like, I feel like even that, like, there needs to be more conversations and connections out there. Like, there's one of my big dreams and hopes is for Sydney to eventually have a young Catholic professionals network. Whether it's really run by the Archdiocese or by like a group of volunteers. I feel like that's a big missing gap, because there are people like yourself, that are out there, on the grind, really hustling for the Lord, and sometimes it does feel lonely, right? Like oh, am I the only one, or I wonder if anyone else is making an effort.
Well, that's, as you say, it's so important to make these connections, because like there's not enough of them.
There's not enough of them, and so to create that space. I hope that will come. I'm sure it will.
I'm sure 100%. God's working.
Each conversation, at a time.
Yeah, look, man, it's freaking awesome to meet you.
Likewise, man.
To stay in touch, and I'm sure whoever watches this will get something out of it. I mean, all of the stuff we talked about, you could talk for hours. Just on a single one. To
dive really deep into it, it takes hours.
100%, man. Well, God bless. We'll keep in touch, and see you guys later.
Awesome.